right now we have our guest joining us in the studio to have conversations this morning in person of Idris Rufai, a public affairs analyst. Good morning. Thank you for joining us in the review.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you here. So let's start with the major story that has been, trending. The Senate has asked the President, Muhammadu Buhari, to declare bandits as terrorists. What do you make of this this proposition?
It's a very good proposition, and well, my concern is that this is what the President should have done long ago, because you need a proper labeling, of each or any criminal act, and also an appropriate law or penalty to deal with it. So if the President had done this earlier, I think we wouldn't have been able to deal with these criminal gangs, effectively. So calling them bandits, makes it difficult, for us to deal with them.
Okay, so from what I can deduce from what you've said, tagging them as terrorists would give the federal government more ability or power to deal with them. But if you can recall, there was a time several months ago where an Islamic cleric, I'm sure you got the news then, in person of Ahmad Sheikh Gumi, who had been in talks with these bandits, said they were not terrorists and they were only fighting an ethnic war. And that statement at the time generated a lot of controversy, which eventually died down. So don't you think now coming up to say declare them as bandits, when a person who has made himself known to the government, right, to be in talks with these people, have said they are just fighting an ethnic war? What do you make of all of this back and forth?
Yes, I think it's very dangerous for a country to have one man to work or operate as an intermediary between, the government or the people and these criminal, gangs. Sheikh Gumi has been performing that role for a long time. Initially, it made a lot of sense, but it's becoming very dangerous now. I think one of the statements he made, was that the government should try and understand these people and what they need and apply carrot and stick approach. At that time, it made a lot of sense. But it seems to me now that the utterances of Sheikh Gumi is beginning to make these people feel comfortable and see what they're doing as, as an adventure, a business, as a business, So, and that's very dangerous for the country. So what I'm trying to say is that we've given Sheikh Gumi, with all due respect, in too much space, to make these bandits, or if you like, terrorists, feel comfortable. And then the country as a whole, and when I say the country, the federal government has actually given them enough space to become much more organized, and that's why it's very difficult to deal with them now.
Okay, so if we're going to if the president declares these people as terrorists, what measures would be taken differently, considering the fact that, so I believe that right now some measures are taken as they are tagged bandits. So if they are now declared terrorists, what other measures, what new strategies will be put in place to fight these people? Because you said if the president declares them as terrorists, it will be easier. So what measures what would be done differently when they are declared as terrorists?
Okay, good. Like I said earlier, you need to be able to properly label a criminal act, to deal with it. And dealing with it, we mean that you have the proper law, or legislation or an act of parliament to serve as penalty to deal with the perpetrators of that particular crime. So it makes it easier for government to do. But because for far too long, we've been struggling with how we can label these criminals, and that's why it has become a very serious, security challenge for us. So what we change is that Nigeria has a law in place that specifies how to deal with terrorists. Just like we have across the globe. So if the president declares these bandits, these criminals, as terrorists, then it will be very convenient for the federal government to apply the law to deal with them.
So does this mean that...
To try them in court, for instance.
Does this mean that there's a limitation to how the federal government is dealing with it now, because in the law it is stated that they have to be terrorists? Is that what this implies?
What I'm saying is that because of the labeling we've been giving them up until this moment, it will make it difficult to be able to deal with them the way they should be dealt with. What are they doing? The bandits, what are they doing? They're kidnapped. I mean, you said Sheikh Gumi, referred to them as fighting ethnic war. I mean, with all due respect, that is wrong, and that's a dangerous statement. You are kidnapping young people, students, toddlers, Christians, Muslims, women. Is that an ethnic war? That is hypocritical, and that's dangerous for us. And that's why I said it's becoming very dangerous now, because we've given these criminals enough space to become to become strong and much more organized. And we have also given Sheikh Gumi enough space, to glorify, so to speak, what they are doing.
Okay, so I know that before now, we've had conversations where when these bandits kidnap students, I'll use students as an example, they demand for ransom, and at the time the governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, when some students were kidnapped from, I think that was Bethel School, said he wasn't going to give them ransom. They were going to find out where these students were being kept and all of that. And one would think that when ransoms are being paid, these bandits would actually, lay back a bit. But we see that they keep doing it and keep doing it. Now, one of the things that the Senate is saying is that beyond declaring them as terrorists, they should bomb their locations to eliminate and annihilate them. Now, do you think that this would actually solve the problem or trigger an increase in insecurity if the federal government begins to bomb their location? And don't you see a possibility of a fight back, a comeback from these bandits?
Sarah, I have actually told you several times on this program that my fear is that we have given the bandits enough space and enough time to become stronger. It's a very critical point, and I mean it. So as a student of crimes and criminality, I know what I'm saying. You understand? You recall that about 3-4 years ago, we had a particular security issue in Southern Kaduna where people of Southern Kaduna were being killed. You could label that an ethnic cleansing, but not this banditry or this terrorism. So that's my problem with the state. We are always reactionary in terms of how we formulate our policies to counter or to solve social problems. And that's very dangerous. The government needs to be proactive and foresee danger, especially when it has to do with security, before it happens at all. So, in answer to your question, politicians have made some very dangerous statements that have made these people much more notorious, while they were not. Statements that made it look like they were prepared to attack them and to crush them, while there was nothing on ground to do that exactly. And that's the problem we have here. You recall that, like you said, the governor of Kaduna State actually said that he would not pay ransom and all of that. Yeah. And I said it in one of my discussions with you that it's a good statement to say that we will not negotiate with terrorists. You know, that's the standard all over the world, especially with the US. But you can only say that when you have the capability to deal with the security challenge. We did not have the capability. And that's the danger. These people, again, let me repeat, these bandits, these terrorists have become much more stronger. I don't want to use the word stronger than the states.
So, before we move on from this conversation, what would you, if you had the power, or if you were in a position to advise the federal government right now on handling insecurity, what are the major points you would drop for them?
The major point I would drop is that government should approach security challenges dispassionately and honestly. If you recall, when the federal government actually stepped up its, attacks in the Northeast, to a greater extent, the military was able to quell and tame the activities of insurgents in the Northeast. But what did we notice? We noticed that some of these insurgents left the Northeast and then crossed to the other region of the country, which is the Southwest. And if you notice very well, that was when the issue of banditry became a very serious problem. So I'm expecting a government that will foresee a challenge, a problem before it occurs. And that's why I said we need a government that is proactive. You understand? So that is one. Two is that government, and that's what I mean by dealing with social issues, social problems, or security challenges dispassionately. I expect government to get ideas from wherever they can get it and come up with proper policies to deal with any particular social problem, especially insecurity. I think there is no clear-cut, direct strategy to solve the problem of insecurity in Nigeria, and it's unfortunate.
So there should be more policy creations, a more structural system that has to do with dealing with insecurity, to fight insecurity right now. Now let's move on to Anambra State right now. We know they are preparing for the gubernatorial election and come October, and in regards to that, there's been a spike in insecurity issues in the state. I'm going to link it to the death, the gruesome death of the widower of the former DG of NAFDAC, she was Dr. Dora Akunyili, and her husband, Dr. Chike Akunyili, was reportedly murdered on Tuesday, according to report. And some people have linked it to the ongoing, the preparation for the gubernatorial elections. Do you see a linkage between the two, or what do you make of it?
Okay, actually, I heard the news, the sad news yesterday, and it's indeed a sad news. But I don't see a linkage yet, so we need to allow the security agents or agencies or operatives to give us more information, regarding that gruesome killing. So, but that generally we have the problem of insecurity in virtually all parts of the country. So you could expect that when things like this happen, they are happening because of this particular challenge of insecurity.
All right. So let's move away from insecurity. Let's talk about the 2023 elections very briefly.
Yes.
There's been conversations on how the 2023 elections should go to the southern part come 2023, and the north is saying they have a larger majority of voters, people that turn out to vote, and so they will not play second fiddle, and it would come to them. And now the governor of Kaduna State made a statement and said the southern governor should have consulted their northern counterparts in regards to 2023 election, talking about the power shift going to that zone. What do you make of this?
Well, it's a very interesting drama, actually. But you see, politicians are very funny people, so, and very interesting people too. when their interest is at stake, they have a way of painting the situation. And if care is not taken, you won't see the intent here. First and foremost, I think the governors in the south, in southern Nigeria, coming together to say that it is the turn of the south, for me, is not out of place. And then another response from their counterparts from the north, saying that, look, you cannot, I heard that Governor El-Rufai said, I heard in the news that Governor El-Rufai said that you cannot take presidency by force. Of course, he's entitled to his opinion. And then they rose from their own meeting and said, look, saying that you must, the next president of Nigeria must come from southern Nigeria is unconstitutional. You know, they are also right. That's why I said politicians are very tricky, very funny, very dramatic people. Because that statement is very correct. It is unconstitutional. Anybody can run for the office of the president, including you, including me. So, but the point is that a honest statement? I think in the PDP and also the APC, there's a gentleman agreement that power should rotate or should shift from southern Nigeria to northern Nigeria. In other words, if southern Nigeria, you know, occupies the office of the president for 8 years, then naturally it should shift to the north for another 8 years, and then like that. So if you have that gentleman agreement, and you know President Buhari will be seeing out his second term 8 years altogether in 2023. So why this drama? But like I said, they are very, very interesting people.
So the south middle belt have made claims saying that they've made assumptions and talk saying that a northern presidency come 2023 would also, you know, worsen division and secession agenda. What do you think of that? That's one of the grounds they are holding on to as to why the presidency should come to the south. You
mean IPOB?
No,
yeah.
The south middle belts, the middle belt have said northern presidency would worsen division in the country and also secession agenda. That's one of the points they are holding on to dearly as to why the South should get the presidency. What do you make of that?
I think it's a legitimate, valid concern. I agree with them. Because you see, because of the nature of our society, because of how our society is configured, Nigeria is a heterogeneous, multi-ethnic and multi-religious society. So taking a political decision, you know, demands that you look at various factors, unlike other climes where you just have to look at merit, you know. So it's a bit very complex. So that's why one has to be very careful, and you need to listen to all sides and consider several factors. But that particular concern is a legitimate concern because it aligns with the principle of natural justice. When you know that a president from a particular region of the country is seeing out his 8 years, naturally, power should shift to southern Nigeria. And then you are insisting that, well, it is the constitutional right of every Nigeria to run for the office of the president. That's correct. But you know that morally, you know, the right thing to do is to let power comes to the south, to southern Nigeria. So if you insist, or if it happens that the next president of the country comes from northern Nigeria, it could raise that, it could raise new security challenges. I agree with them.
Wow.
So if politicians actually put the country, you know, first, the way it should be, I think they should do what will align with the principle of natural justice.
Well, the conversation on 2023 presidency, zoning, and all of that is not one that would end anytime soon, and we'll keep on seeing how it unfolds in time to come. Thank you so much, Idris Rufai, for joining us on The Review this morning and for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that is where we draw the curtain on The Review this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Major thanks to our guest, Idris Rufai, who joined us live to have conversations on insecurity as well as the 2023 elections in Nigeria. Remember that you can join us again at 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. to get updates of these stories and more stories. It's now time to hand you over to Omobolade and Ade for tea or coffee. Till I see you again, I am Sarah Oswanta. Bye-bye.